For decades, we've been told cancer is all about bad luck or family history. But what if the real cause is something far more common and far more preventable? Groundbreaking research from Dr. Thomas Seyfried reveals a new truth: cancer thrives on glucose sugar. Not just from candy, but from bread, rice, pasta, even healthy foods we eat without thinking. The best part? If cancer feeds on sugar, then you can fight back with what you eat. In the next few minutes, you'll learn how simple changes to your diet and lifestyle could cut off cancer's fuel supply and give your body the upper hand. This isn't fear. It's power. And it starts with your next bite. Let me tell you something that could completely change the way you think about cancer. Because what you're about to hear might go against everything you've been taught. For decades, we've believed that cancer is mainly a genetic disease, that if it runs in your family, it's written in your DNA, and there's nothing you can do. But that belief is outdated. One of the most respected researchers in the field, Dr. Thomas Seyfried from Boston College, has spent over 30 years studying the true nature of cancer, and what he discovered is turning the medical world upside down. He says, cancer is not primarily a genetic disease, it's a metabolic one. What does that mean? In simple terms, cancer begins when the energy system inside your cells, called the mitochondria, stops working properly. These mitochondria are like tiny batteries that help your cells produce energy by using oxygen. But when they're damaged, cells lose their ability to create energy the normal way, and instead, they switch to a backup plan. They start feeding on sugar, or more specifically, glucose. This process, known as the Warburg effect, reveals a shocking truth: cancer cells are addicted to sugar. Unlike healthy cells, cancer cells depend almost entirely on glucose to grow and survive. They don't function well on fat or ketones, only sugar. And guess what? The modern diet, filled with processed carbs and hidden sugars, is the perfect fuel for these rogue cells. That's why more and more scientists are shifting their focus away from genes and toward metabolism, because metabolism is something we can control. Through diet, exercise, stress management, and even strategic fasting, we can influence how our cells produce energy and how our body responds to disease. So no, cancer isn't just about bad luck or bad genes. It's about how your body makes energy. And if cancer feeds on sugar, then maybe the most powerful thing you can do is to stop feeding it. Now let's talk about the foods that are silently feeding cancer, the everyday stuff sitting right in your kitchen. No, we're not talking about exotic toxins or rare ingredients. We're talking about common, everyday foods that millions of people eat without a second thought: white bread, sugary drinks, pastries, candy bars, breakfast cereals, and even that harmless, sweetened yogurt you grab on the go. These foods have one dangerous thing in common: refined sugars and fast-digesting starches. Why is that a problem? Because they flood your body with glucose, and glucose just happens to be cancer's favorite fuel. Here's the science: cancer cells are like energy addicts. When their mitochondria, the part of the cell that normally burns energy cleanly with oxygen, get damaged, they fall back on an ancient, inefficient method of survival: fermentation. This is called the Warburg effect, named after Nobel Prize-winning scientist Otto Warburg. Unlike healthy cells, which can burn fat or ketones, cancer cells rely almost exclusively on glucose. They don't just use it, they crave it. The more sugar and simple carbs you eat, the more you're unknowingly feeding their growth. And here's the catch: you don't have to eat candy for this to happen. Your body breaks down things like white rice, pasta, white bread, and even some fruit juices very quickly into glucose. These are called high glycemic foods, and they cause sudden spikes in blood sugar, giving cancer cells the energy surge they're waiting for. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. So while sugar might make things taste better, it could be silently fueling something far more dangerous. This doesn't mean you have to cut out every carb forever. But knowing which foods spike your glucose and replacing them with smarter, slower digesting options could be a life-saving shift. Because when you reduce the fuel, you weaken the fire. And when it comes to cancer, starving it of sugar might be the smartest defense you never knew you had. So now that we know sugar is cancer's favorite snack, the big question is, what can we actually do about it? Thankfully, this is where science meets strategy. And no, we're not talking about extreme treatments or miracle pills. We're talking about two powerful, science-backed lifestyle changes that are gaining massive attention in the health world. Think of them as the two pillars of a cancer-fighting food strategy. First, we have the ketogenic diet, a way of eating that's low in carbs, moderate in protein, and high in healthy fats. Why does this matter? Because when you reduce your carbohydrate intake, your body stops relying on glucose for energy and switches to burning fat, producing molecules called ketones. Here's the cool part: healthy cells can run on ketones, but cancer cells can't. They struggle to survive without sugar. So by going keto, you're not just cutting calories, you're cutting off the fuel line that many tumors depend on to grow. Second, there's intermittent fasting, another metabolic weapon. This isn't starvation. It's simply giving your body longer breaks between meals. When you fast, your insulin drops, your glucose levels stabilize, and your body starts tapping into fat for energy. More importantly, cancer cells, the sugar addicts that they are, start to starve. Research shows that fasting can slow tumor progression and even boost the effectiveness of chemotherapy in some cases. It's like flipping the metabolic switch and letting your body clean house. Still not convinced? Let me tell you about Mark, a 52-year-old father of two who was diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. Doctors gave him months to live. But Mark took a different path. Alongside medical care, he adopted a strict ketogenic diet and started intermittent fasting under supervision. Within months, scans showed his tumor shrinking. He had more energy. His doctors were stunned. And while everyone's journey is different, stories like Mark's are becoming more common. Food is not just fuel, it's a form of medicine. And when you give your body the right environment, incredible things can happen. You don't have to wait for a diagnosis to make these changes. You can start now, not out of fear, but out of power. Because starving cancer might begin with what's on your plate, or better yet, what's not. And coming right up, let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention, but it could literally save your life. It's called your mitochondria. Think of them as the tiny power plants inside every cell of your body. They're the reason you have energy to move, think, heal, and live. But here's the thing: when your mitochondria get damaged, everything falls apart, especially your defenses against cancer. In fact, according to some of the most cutting-edge research today, including work by Dr. Thomas Seyfried and others, cancer may actually begin with mitochondrial dysfunction. When these little batteries break down, cells lose their ability to produce energy efficiently. And that's when they switch into survival mode, fermenting sugar to stay alive, which is exactly how cancer grows. So how do you protect your mitochondria? The good news is, you don't need a lab or a prescription. You need lifestyle. Here are 5 simple things you can do today to charge up your body's natural defense system, your biological batteries. First up is sleep like your life depends on it, because it does. Your mitochondria repair while you rest. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of good and deep sleep. Next is move your body gently but often. Even walking, stretching, or dancing improves blood flow and mitochondrial function. You don't need to crush it at the gym. Just stay active. The third is eat clean, whole foods. The less processed your food is, the less stress your mitochondria have to deal with. Think colors, fiber, healthy fats, and hydration. Then comes manage your stress before it manages you. Chronic stress floods your body with hormones that literally burn out your mitochondria. Try meditation, journaling, deep breathing, whatever helps you unplug. And the last is give your body a break from constant eating. Intermittent fasting isn't just a trend, it gives your mitochondria time to reset and clean out damaged cells. Your mitochondria are like the battery icon on your phone. If they're green and full, you feel strong, clear, and alive. But when they're drained, everything slows down: your energy, your mood, your immune system, and even your cancer defense. So if you want to take real control of your health, start by taking care of your mitochondria. They're small, but they are mighty. And now let's bust one of the most dangerous myths in modern nutrition: the idea that just eating less sugar is enough. It's not. In fact, this is where most people go wrong. They quit candy and soda, feel proud of themselves, but keep eating white bread, white rice, pasta, crackers, fruit juice, and think they're safe. Bad news, your body turns all of those into sugar, fast. The truth is, refined carbs spike your glucose just like straight sugar does. Your body can't tell the difference. And that's exactly what cancer cells are waiting for: more fuel. You don't have to eat cake to feed cancer. A slice of white toast or a bowl of pasta can do the job just as well, because it all breaks down into glucose. So if you're trying to protect your health, cutting sugar is just the first step. The next level? Cutting out refined carbs that act like sugar in disguise. Here's what to avoid: white rice, white bread, regular pasta, pastries, sugary cereals, sweetened yogurt, fruit juice, chips, and processed snack bars. These are the hidden triggers that silently raise your blood sugar and fuel disease. But here's the good news: you don't have to give up flavor or satisfaction. You just need to swap smart. Switch to whole grains like quinoa or brown rice. Use sourdough or sprouted bread instead of white. Choose zucchini noodles, lentil pasta, or cauliflower rice. Eat whole fruits, not juices. Go for plain Greek yogurt with real berries. And most importantly, fill your plate with color, fiber, and healthy fats. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware. Because once you understand that glucose is glucose, no matter where it comes from, you start to take real control. Cancer doesn't care if your sugar came from a cookie or a cracker. But your body does. Make better choices, and your metabolism will thank you. This is how you stop feeding the problem, and start building the solution, one meal at a time. So here's the bottom line. According to Dr. Thomas Seyfried, cancer isn't some mysterious monster that strikes at random. It's a disease that thrives on a very specific fuel, glucose. And that means you're not powerless. You don't have to sit around and wait for bad news. You can take action, every single day, by controlling what you put on your plate. Instead of fearing cancer, start cutting off its fuel supply. That's the real shift. That's the new strategy. Because cancer doesn't grow in a vacuum, it grows in an environment. And your food choices shape that environment more than anything else. The truth is brutally simple: food can kill you, or it can save you. The same fork that feeds your cravings could also be feeding your cancer. But flip the script, and that same fork becomes your defense, your medicine, your power. So you have a choice. You can continue living on autopilot, reaching for processed carbs, sugary drinks, and calling it normal. Or you can wake up, take control, and start eating with intention. Not out of fear, but out of strength. Because at the end of the day, you're not just eating food. You're feeding your future. At the end of the day, health isn't just about avoiding disease, it's about understanding your body, making conscious choices, and showing up for yourself one meal, one habit, one decision at a time. Cancer doesn't need to control the narrative. You do. And the simplest daily choices, what you eat, how you move, how you rest, hold more power than we've ever been taught to believe. So if today's message gave you even one reason to pause and think differently, then take that as a sign you're already on the path. And you're not walking it alone. Stay curious. Stay strong. And stay with us. Because here on Health 247, we're not just talking about food, we're building a life that fights for you. Subscribe, share, and join the journey. Your health is your power, let's live like it. Thank you.